Welcome back to the Droptine Studios podcast. Today's podcast is going to be a little bit different. As you can tell, I don't have a guest with me today. Due to the weather and due to a couple other things and just busy schedules, we had to reschedule some people, but we'll be back on track sooner than later. But this gives us the opportunity to do something that we've been talking about but never had the opportunity to do. And that's where it's just me sitting down, talking to you about a couple subjects uninterrupted. So this is going to be what we call uneducated assumptions. If we get enough traction and good feedback from this episode, we can work on making this a thing that comes reoccurring, and we can do this and start pumping these out. Or if we get enough good feedback from these, we can add these on top of our normally scheduled Wednesday podcasts that go out at 6 a.m. every Wednesday. So that begs the question, what is an uneducated assumption? People tend to ask me my opinion, no matter if it's about the industry, if it's about a subject, marketing, media, no matter what it is. And somehow, some way, most people tend to tell me that I'm wrong. Again, that's their opinion. That's my opinion. So everything that I say now is just an uneducated assumption. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I hope you get some value from whatever we talk about. So during this uneducated assumption, some of the subjects that we're going to be covering is when people say that Droptine Studios prices are too high. Things that you might not know about Droptine Studios as far as the two different types of businesses that we run under Droptine Studios. So one of the sections is more like a to-do list checker, and we just do things that are on your list to take it off your plate. Or if we're going to be a strategist in your business, coming up with marketing plans and so on and so forth. Again, I think you'll enjoy hearing about that. And I'll save the best for last, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. You have to listen to the entire uneducated assumptions to be able to see what we're talking about. Now, before we get started, I have to say thank you to the EWA. So the Exotic Wildlife Association does have their upcoming convention and auction August 14th and 15th in San Antonio, Texas. This is a great place for people to come and network. You can buy animals and meet a ton of people from the industry. And we are going to have a booth there. This is going to be our 20 by 20 booth. We've only had this at one or two shows by now, but we really think that this is a great place for people to come to not only our booth, but you can visit other people in the industry, experts. They're going to have speakers there that are doing seminars. So this is a really good place for you guys to show up. Again, that is August 14th and 15th in San Antonio, Texas. You can go to myewa.org to find out more information on that, or go to their Facebook. So that's my plug for the sponsor of this episode. But again, I want to give a thank you to everyone who listens to this podcast. Seriously, thank you to the people who comment, that like this, subscribe, they share it with their friends or people that they think it would be interesting. Genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, I had no idea that the podcast would take off like it has this year, and that's all because of you. If you didn't listen, this would not be continuing to go. Another part about this is, we release our podcasts every Wednesday at 6 a.m., and if it's an hour long, I typically get calls at 7:05 a.m. because I have a handful of guys that like to call and talk about the guest or the topic that was covered. They tell me if it was good, if it sucked, or what they liked or didn't enjoy about it. But it's invaluable to me for the people who do that. And so now the easiest way to get a hold of me, just because my phone is constantly ringing, is sending me an email. So my email is austin@droptinestudios.com. But we always want to hear from the people that are listening to the podcast. So if you have a subject or a topic or someone you want us to interview or go over things, please send it to me in the email. Or you can get a hold of Rachel. It's rachel@droptinestudios.com. Also, you would not believe the amount of people that I have face-to-face meetings with, and they tell me certain subjects, certain things, but they say like, man, I would love to talk about this on the podcast, but I can't. They said I would never want a target on my back for saying these certain things, whether it is, Texas Parks and Wildlife, other organizations, or they just don't want their ranch name tied to a certain subject about it. But when I ask them to come on the podcast, they don't want a target on their back. So I will do my best to be the voice for the people in the industry. Again, I never thought that would be something that I would do, but God has blessed me to steward this little podcast and to try to do it well. So I'll be the voice of this industry if we need it. So if you have something that you don't want your name tied to, I'll keep anything and all things anonymous. But if, like I said, if we get good feedback from me doing these uneducated assumptions, I will do more of these. Maybe I'll cover 2-3 subjects at a time. But yeah, I would love to be the voice for the industry if you guys would allow me. Now, let's get into the part about when people say our prices are too high. I've gotten this pretty much my entire life. I've got this when I ran hunts. I've got all these things from running my company at Droptine Studios. But one thing I want to address before this is the more people I talk to that we don't work with, there seems to be a stigma or a rumor or anything that I want to debunk. And I've heard people start rumors that to work with Droptine Studios, the starting price is anywhere from $25,000 to $50,000. Now, we do charge that for certain projects depending on the scope of work, but that's not the beginning prices that we offer. We have things anywhere from $250 to $600 all the way up to annual contracts depending on what we're doing. But maybe that's a compliment. Maybe that's something that people think is out there. Maybe it's nice to be perceived as like the luxury version of media and marketing. But in reality, I talked to other friends in the industry and even that cost isn't a ton, again, depending on deliverables. But I would like to talk about something when people say your price is too high. The thing I always refer back to is price is irrelevant when the value exceeds the price. Now, what does that mean? Specifically in this industry, to me, it means someone who believes in themselves. They know when they promote something, they promote a breeder or whatever it is that they're selling, that they're going to sell it, which means you have to have inventory to sell. So we've run into that with some clients that we promote them and we make them look good. And then they're asking themselves like, hey, well, I don't have anything to sell. How can I justify this cost? I don't know. You called me to build something for you. You called me to do photo shoots for you. And we'll dive into that a little bit more, but I think that you need to be looking at your marketing plan from a 12 months minimum of every year. Maybe that's a 3-year, 5-year plan. At the time I recorded this, I just got an email that we're going to be making a 5-year marketing plan for a shirt company. So we'll have more details on that, but and that is just for us to make the marketing plan. It's not for us to execute it. We're actually encouraging them to go get other bids from other companies because we don't want them to feel like they're stuck working with us. So again, I think that when price is irrelevant, it means that the value exceeds the price. So just consider that whenever you're looking at it and just be thinking, I need to be promoting myself outside of busy season or breeder season. Let me give you an example. This time of the year in July, I'll pick on fallow breeders and hunting ranches. So if you're a fallow breeder and you're only promoting your breeder bucks during the months that they grow out or the months you're going to trade show or right before breeding season, I think you're already behind. You need to be showing your proof of concept. Show that your bucks have offspring. Show what those offspring look like or what those offsprings produce. Show that your does took semen to AI. That's another thing in this fallow industry is if that doe consistently takes to AI, given the fact that the fallow industry doesn't have a very huge successful AI rate, how much more valuable is she worth? If you're selling your stalker bucks, you need to document them, even if you already have them sold. You could be showing what that mama has produced. You could be showing if someone comes in and says, hey, what do your bred does or why are your bred does more expensive? This guy over here selling them for $1,000 a piece. Proof of concept. Show that your does produce. Then you can raise your prices. But this doesn't happen your first go around. This needs to be done year after year. And again, that one's kind of the higher 10,000 foot view. I'm going to go into it more specifically and give examples. Hunting ranches. Some hunting ranches will say, well, I'm sold out of hunts already for the next year, maybe 2 years. I don't need any marketing. Well, that's great. But what happens when that client doesn't rebook? Say you've got a corporate client spending $250,000 or more a year. And then whenever that happens, I bet you wish you had been booking and promoting other people throughout that time. So don't get caught behind the 8 ball whenever you get stuck with clients. It's great, but even internally in Droptine Studios, we're not only promoting because we have a goal to double the size of our company, but anytime that we're looking at some of this stuff, we always know at any moment these clients, unless we have a contract, can back out or they might not rebook. And so just consider that. If you are a hunting ranch that already has things booked out, we ask you to consider what happens if they don't. Do you want to start behind the 8 ball whenever they don't rebook and you're trying to catch up and you didn't pay for a new website or you didn't pay for any content over the past couple of years? Just something to think about. We tell our hunting ranch clients, if you want to capture content properly, it needs to be done year round. Some people tell me when I say that it's my own marketing plan to have a consistent paycheck all year round. Maybe. Yeah, I mean, it's a good business model, but let me ask you this. When does your ranch look the best if you were to give it like a season? Probably the springtime, get some May rains, April rains, all these things, but how do your antlered animals look in the spring? When do your whitetail look the best? In the fall? How does your ranch look? How does your grass look? Probably not the best. But that begs the question, how do you justify the cost? All right, so when you get a $10,000 invoice or a bill or a $20,000 bill from Droptine Studios, or what about a $100,000 bill from Droptine Studios? For easy sakes, I'm not very good with numbers, and so I'm going to stick to that $10,000 invoice. This is all hypothetical for now. We're not going to throw up a invoice up here and go line item by line item and just blur out a client's thing. But again, we'll just say hypothetical. Say it's a $10,000 invoice, and I was picking on fallow breeders and hunting ranches earlier, so that's what we'll do. But let's say fallow breeders. Again, this is hypothetical. Let's say you're a fallow breeder and you have 3 breeder bucks, you have stalker bucks, and upcoming 2-year-olds. And again, this is hypothetical, so we're just saying that what you asked us to do was $10,000, and that's what it ended up costing to complete the project you wanted us to do. So how do you justify that $10,000? When you're promoting breeder bucks, my question would be, well, what are you selling? Have you considered all the things that you can sell besides just showing how big your breeder bucks are? It's important to show how big your breeder bucks are, but have you considered you've got live breeding, semen cells, bred does? And just for argument's sake, to keep things simple, I'll stop it there. But some people would say, okay, I've got 3 breeder bucks, divide $10,000 by 3. Well, that's the cost per breeder buck. I mean, honestly, that's enough alone, in my opinion, if you're getting pictures and videos of that. So let me just do the quick math. But I mean, if we were to say $10,000 divided by 3, so it's $3,334. And if you were to have good pictures and videos of each one of your bucks, is that not enough to justify the cost? I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. This is just an uneducated assumption. But now let's think about it from what I mentioned earlier with bred does, semen, stalker bucks, live breeding spots, so on and so forth. So let's talk about stalker bucks. How do you promote your stalker bucks, and what do you get out of doing that if you're promoting them? Well, even if you already have them sold, you still need to document them. I mentioned that earlier. You need to show what your does can produce. You need to show of what your stalkers look like. But even if you already have them sold, here's a list of a couple things that I kind of came up with myself, just real quick, to talk about why you should promote them. The fact that you have stalker bucks to sell every year is a good enough reason to promote them online to get more people in your Rolodex. The more people that you have in your Rolodex, the easier it is to sell them. Even if you only have 5 to 10 stalker bucks, consider this. They need to come back and buy stalker bucks next year. Maybe you're going to have 20 or 30 the next year because your breeding program's grown. So just think about the more people you have in your Rolodex is one reason enough alone to be promoting all year long. You can showcase what your does have produced, as I've mentioned a couple times. You can show what your breeder bucks have produced. Hell, who knows? Maybe one of your stalker bucks is a breeder buck to someone. So now you're selling, instead of a $7,000 or $8,000 stalker buck, you're selling a $15,000 breeder. Is that not enough to justify promoting in and of itself? I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. It's an uneducated assumption. The more you market yourself, hopefully, the more you can find ranch owners direct to buy from, to buy your product, right? So one example I'll give you, this actually just happened. Someone called, we were talking about it. They had a handful of stockers to sell. Let's just say it's 10 of them. Well, they sold to a broker, which is fine. I'm not saying brokers have their place in this industry. And I myself broker plenty of deals, but I don't do that for a living. But I'll give you this example. They sent someone to pick them up that he sold them to. The breeder sold their bucks for $7,000 a piece. The broker bought them, or the people they brokered them sold them for $8,500 a piece. And then they went to a hunting ranch, which I can only imagine they bought them for at least $10,000 a piece. The question I would ask is, how much money is that breeder missing by not promoting online to find the owner directly? Maybe you would have been happy with $8,500 a piece. Well, I damn sure know that ranch owner would have loved to buy them for that because they have that much more of a higher profit margin. I'm not saying you can get the full $10,000 a piece, but maybe you could. Depends what your bucks look like. But again, I don't know what I'm talking about. But what is it costing you? My question would be, what is it costing you by not promoting online consistently and professionally? When you're promoting your 2 and 3 year old upcomers, what are you promoting? What should you be thinking about? Be thinking about future breeders that can be sold. Again, a stalker to you may be a breeder to someone else. You never know, but people don't know what they don't know. So trying to get people to come a year in advance, like getting people excited to see when you can do a pin tour next year. Oh, hey, I didn't even know that you do pin tours. I would love to come out next year. Now, I don't know statistics. No one ever tells me this. And especially in this industry, a lot of people like to just go around and look at other pin tours, whether they want to see your facility, if they want to see how your pins are set up, maybe they want to see your deer. But I would imagine it's like a car dealership. They have a statistic, I don't know what it is, but it's astronomical. Let's say like 85%, they have a higher success rate if you are in person to buy the car. That's why they ask you to come in. So that would beg the question for me is, do you have a higher success rate of trying to get someone to do a pin tour so that you can sell them something? Again, I'm going to continue to mention this because it's true. What do your does produce? You should document your stalkers, your 2 and 3 year olds, not only for your internal inventory, but if she consistently grows a buck that only has a 2-inch paddle, maybe get rid of her, sell her to a hunting ranch. What about your semen cells? People need to know that. I know semen cells kind of are not the greatest right now because fallow AI just isn't taking off as much as it could, but they'll figure it out one day. I mean, even myself, I still have 1,500 straws of semen in the tank of whitetail, but even when the GEBV scores came out, yeah, the value of the semen that I had probably was cut in half, but I'm not thinking about like what a $500 straw would sell for, or if I could sell everything, the whole thing, and just flood the market and sell all my semen. I'm thinking on a much larger scale. And I think that's what us as breeders and ranchers need to think about is don't think about the short term, think about the long term. Again, another part that I didn't even put in my notes is, what if that buck never grows back the same? I mean, I've seen it this year. I've seen where fallow bucks will rub their antlers against the fence and they essentially saw their palm in half. I've seen it to where a buck hits his pedicle as he's growing out and then it just hangs down to the side of his head. So what is it worth if you didn't take pictures of that buck last year? I don't know. I mean, his reproductive system still works the same. He could still give you semen. What is he going to look like next year? I don't know what I'm talking about, but it might be worth, documenting it. So anyway, people do not know what you do not tell them. So again, let's break that down a little bit as far as the $10,000 invoice. At first, you were thinking, okay, I've got 3 breeder bucks. And while we're coming out, and again, all this is hypothetical. If you want a quote or anything on a specific job, just reach out to me. But this is just to kind of break down to show you the mindset or the uneducated assumption of myself. So now what we've talked about, instead of just 3 breeder bucks, now you're promoting bred does, breeder buck number 1, breeder buck number 2, breeder buck number 3, your upcoming 2-year-olds, your upcoming 3-year-olds, live breeding spots that you can sell, and semen cells. So now we're looking at it on a much larger scale. It's 8 different topics. Now, again, I need my trusty calculator here. But if we were to say that was $10,000 divided by 8, it's $1,250. If you had things in there, and I'm not saying we could do that all for $10,000, but again, I don't know unless I talk to you, but that's what you can do for us. If you call us and say, hey, I need pictures and videos, the to-do list side of it, and I'll talk about that, then we'll just do it. But if you tell me, Austin, I have all these things, because like, what do you sell a bred doe for? I don't know. What do you sell a breeder buck for? That's up to your program. And then how valuable is it to have pictures and videos of your upcoming 2 and 3-year-olds, because you need to know what your does produce. It could be detrimental to your breeding program to know what your does are producing. What do you sell a live breeding spot for? And that's just one. I mean, you could have, if you have 3 breeder bucks and you're going to sell 5 or 6 a piece of those, I don't know, I would be willing to bet it's more than $2,000 a piece. Just something to consider. And the only other thing I'll say is I know that semen sales are a little down right now, but it will pick up the more that people are AIing and the more that people are producing bucks and does that are going to take to AI and produce good semen and do these things. But what does one straw semen sell for? $500, $1,000, $3,500? Just something to consider. All right, I said I was going to talk about hunting ranches, but I don't know, we're kind of going a little bit into the weeds with all this. So maybe we'll save that. Maybe we'll do a whole other uneducated assumptions on hunting ranches. But for now, I'll give you 2 quick stories. One, I just had a guy last Thursday or Friday reach out to me, and he was saying, hey, I followed along on Droptine Studios. I see all these ranches that you've been going to. He gave a very specific example of he has 2 other clients in a corporate setting that he wants to take hunting. They can't go out and do the full like backpacking, hiking thing. He gave me a lot of parameters, and I was able to look and go through these ranches that we go with. But he wanted 3 aoudad over 33 inches apiece. Now, I don't know what the hunts would sell for, but I know that the average high fence aoudad hunt sells for about $6,500. Well, he wanted 3 of them. Well, that's $19,500. Now, I can't send this to every hunting ranch that we work with, but based on his parameters, based on the things that he was wanting, I was able to send him to one of my clients. Now, what did that cost if Droptine Studios doesn't document stuff? If Droptine Studios doesn't post on our social media? But we made it comfortable enough to where he felt like he could reach out and ask me a question, and hopefully, I don't know if this went through, it literally just happened, but just consider that. What would that cost that hunting ranch if they never worked with us? Obviously, there's expenses and things that go into the hunts, but like that's a $19,000, $20,000 paycheck. But just certain things to consider. Now, also the intrinsic value of what our content holds. So the story I'll give you with that is, it's been like 5 or 6 years now, but at the time with one of my old employees, we were running and gunning during fallow breeder season. And I mean, we barely could breathe. It was just me and him running around. And we would tell people, it's like, hey, we literally do not have time to go out on your hunting ranch or on your preserve or anything like that, because we have to get your content and turn around so quickly. We just don't have time to capture any of that other stuff. Well, we're sitting on the front porch, or he was at the time, and this black buck, beautiful black buck, comes walking by. I mean, he stands 40 yards from us on the front porch that morning. So Tyler grabs a picture of that buck, and we move on. At the time, it's just a picture of a black buck. Then you fast forward a couple years. Well, now there's a black buck registry. So they were able to use that picture to get a partner on that black buck. I don't know what it was, but let's say it was $25,000. He got a partner on a black buck for $25,000 off a picture that we took 3 years ago. Well, then he sold bred does out of that buck for $2,000, $3,000 a piece. So what value does the content that we produce have? Even if you don't see the results today, you never know. We had a hunting ranch. This one isn't on my notes. I said a 2 story, so here's the third one. But a hunting ranch, this was Buckhorn. They went through and they didn't know, but there's the Llano Music Fest coming up, and they wanted to advertise with them. Well, Buckhorn's a good client of ours, and we had some content of years and years of content of going back, and we could pick and choose, but he needed a quick commercial to be able to promote at the Llano event, the Llano Music event. Well, we didn't know while we were collecting that content that he would need it, but the goal is hopefully going to be that someone can book a stay at their place during the event. How much value does that have? He was able just to call us, hey, here's the goals, here's the objectives, here's things that I need. Can you execute it? Yeah, and we did. So just things to consider is you don't know, and not everything has to have the perfect dollar value today to turn around to make it valuable. But what else I was going to break down on pricing, I was going to break down the timeline on pricing with all the traveling that Daniel, Grayson, and I do. Let's say your ranch is 4 hours away. Again, this is a whole uneducated assumption in and of itself. Let's say your ranch is 4 hours from us. Well, just driving there and driving back is 8 hours, and that's a quote-unquote typical work day. We haven't shot, haven't edited, haven't done anything. And you can see this in the ranch real estate world. They're constantly looking for people to travel to these ranches to capture content of them, because people, there's like, you can't just hire a photographer in each little town, because most people aren't going to live in these rural areas that can do what we do. But those are part of the things. And like I said, maybe I'll do another uneducated assumptions based on that. But there's a lot of time and things that have to go into our pricing just in time alone. So pricing, traveling, editing, scheduling, most of the jobs we do take an hour to back up to our hard drive alone. But things like that. But again, I don't know what I'm talking about. This is an uneducated assumption. Break down the timeline of the editing. People have asked me, why don't you just hire overseas editors? There's multiple reasons. I've spent tens of thousands of dollars over the past years trying to figure out if there's an easier way to outsource the type of editing we do. And I can't seem to find anyone that keeps up with the standard that we hold. I would have to be up at like midnight to communicate. There's a lot of different factors in there. Yes, it would be cheaper, but it's a lot easier for me to walk into Daniel's office and go, hey, let's talk about this project, than me trying to wait 3 or 4 days. Or if someone like Buckhorn called and said, hey, I need this, and I only have remote editors that aren't on the same timeline, those things just aren't worth it to me. So being able to have people at your disposal when you need, I don't know how much value that has, but apparently our clients think it has quite a bit. Another part of it, we don't completely structure this into our pricing, but like for our employees, we're working on offering 401ks. We offer health insurance. We invest in our employees. We try to do some continued education, take them to meet you at these trade shows and do these things. But yeah, those are all completely separate things that we can go over much further in depth. But one of the last things I'll leave you with on pricing is this. We meet so many ranchers, all business sense goes out the window, and I don't know why. It seems like whenever we're having this, and I don't know if it's because when they get to their ranch, they like to just get away from all business. But they look at me like I've got 4 heads whenever I ask questions like, well, what does it cost to acquire a new client? Well, what's the lifetime value of a client? Are they repeat clients? An example of that would be for like hunting ranches. When a guy comes in and books one hunt, he's only worth that one hunt, but what is he worth over 3 years? Maybe the next year he brings 3 or 4 guys and they all shoot something. Well, immediately he's 5 times his lifetime value, right? Well, now you also have 3 or 4 new clients who can bring new people in. And before you know it, maybe you've sold 20 or 30 hunts, all because that one guy who walked through your doors or drove through your gate booked one hunt. But I don't know if ranchers are tracking this stuff. What's the lifetime value of a client? If you were able to know that, you would know what you can afford in marketing, in media, and things to be able to promote your business. But if you can't answer that question as a business, you're always going to think everything is expensive. But I'll save all of that for the next podcast. If y'all will have me back for uneducated assumptions, I'll do the little influencer deal here. So if you like what you're hearing so far, go ahead and comment uneducated assumptions or say something about Daniel, and we'll know that that's our little sign that you're enjoying these. All right. So the next subject that we're going to cover is things you might not know about Droptine Studios. A lot of our clients, which is perfectly fine. We've run an entire company off of this for most of our lives, but it's what we call the to-do list checker. And what's the to-do list checker versus the strategist in your business? So the to-do list side of it would be, hey, Austin, or hey, Droptine, I need a magazine ad. and you just tell us, here's this buck, here's the thing, we make it, we move on. It's very transactional, which is absolutely fine. We are in this business to make a living, but if you were to come in, like I mentioned earlier, we're going to build out a 5-year strategy for a guy, but that has nothing to do with us actually executing it. But typically the people will say, hey, will you take photos for me? Will you make videos for me? Will you build me a website? And it's a very clear start and end date, but that's very transactional. It's you do this and you start it and you finish it and then we're done. But people will tend to call me and go, hey, this isn't working, or hey, this has worked great, which I'm glad it's worked great. But like all those things like pictures, videos, graphics, websites, those are transactional. Can they be used in your marketing plan? Absolutely. But just because I build you a website does not mean that we're doing your marketing for you. The example I give all the time is if you built a phenomenal home and you wanted to host a party, how do people know to go to the address that they don't know about? You have to send it to them. You have to put it in front of people. Same thing with the website. I could build you the best, most functional website in the world, but a website build versus leading traffic to your website, two completely different services. But again, I don't know what I'm talking about. This is just an uneducated assumption. And to address the comment that I made that people will hire us for a photo shoot or a video shoot and say, well, this is my marketing for the year. False. That's your content that you're going to use in your marketing for that year. We don't want to get those two things mixed up, and we've tried explaining it, and maybe we need to do a better job of educating our industry. But if we do a photo shoot for you and you take your Dropbox or your thumb drive and you throw it in a drawer and never touch anything, did we not complete our job? Did we not do what we were hired to do? So things just for you to consider, but when you hire us to do that, you have to ask yourself, well, what do I do now? Or what do I need to do? But, what do I know? This is just an uneducated assumption. Back to the to-do list checker versus being a strategic partner for your company. We do things all the time for clients, like I mentioned, but like the biggest thing is, do you have a plan? Do you have a 5-year plan? Do you know if your ranch just needs to pay the feed bill or does it need to turn a profit? What are you doing to get to that place? What are you doing to have those? Again, what are you doing if you have 5 corporate clients, but 3 of them back out? You probably should be promoting now just in case. Another thing that we can do, we're actually doing it for that other company, as I mentioned, but in our industry, if we build you out a marketing plan, there's something in our industry called an RFP, or it's a request for proposal. We can help build out your marketing plan, and I would highly encourage, I think one of the reasons people think we're expensive is because they've never worked with another marketing agency. Go take that marketing plan and ask someone to bid out what this would cost to execute a 5-year marketing plan. But I guarantee you, they're not going to tell you just hire me for one photo shoot. So things to consider when you're trying to come up with your ranch's plans. But if you don't have a plan, if you don't have anything to execute, anything you purchase is going to be expensive. But with that being said, I hope none of this of what I'm saying is taken poorly. Again, I'm trying to help better and educate people in the industry. I hope everything that I've said is received well, and I hope everything that I've said is hopefully going to help someone come up with a business plan, come up with a marketing plan. So yeah, I would ask you to consider maybe rewatch this. Again, comment, let me know if you like this or not. Shoot me an email if you want me to cover any subjects like this, but I think I can get a lot more points across when I'm not interviewing someone. So yeah, let me know if y'all think this was educational, helpful. Again, we'll cover any topics. We just need to know what y'all want to hear. Now, the best for last, something that we've been talking about for a while, and because the podcast has done so well, this is very educational as far as like when we're interviewing people, we're trying to provide education, but it's not very entertaining, right? Like you can plug this in while you're driving, delivering animals, or you can do anything like that. But one thing that we're talking about doing, and we're hopefully going to execute by 2027, is we're going to be starting up our own YouTube series. This is going to be more of a mix between like Dan Cabela's hunting show and Keith Warren's deer and wildlife stories, but we're hoping that we're going to be able to provide more educational and entertainment. We can do farm tours. We're going to be able to feature deer, cover topics, and we're going to be calling that Through the Lens of. So that can be through the lens of fallow breeding, through the lens of whitetail breeding, through the lens of Texas parks and wildlife, through the lens of cattle breeding, through the lens of ranch real estate. The options are endless when we word it that way, but we would love to know if that's something that you'd be interested in. We're currently working on the layout, the format, what we're going to do, and how that is going to be executed. So thank you so much to everyone. I want to thank our sponsors, EWA, one more time, but thank you for listening. Thank you for commenting. Let me know if you got value from this, and we look forward to seeing what we can do with the podcast and maybe what we can do through the lens. Thank you, guys.